Hello, my name is Ernestine Hasty, and I'm a lifelong Democrat. I thought about how I became a Democrat. I guess I need to go back into my family. My family was always very involved in community service, and I grew up feeling that we had a responsibility not just to ourselves, but to our community. My grandmother, who lived in Florida, not only was a single parent raising 3 children and running a boarding house, but she was very active in a number of organizations. And in Florida, under segregation, when white politicians wanted to get the black vote, they would go sit on my grandmother's porch. They never went in the house. They sat on the porch. And they knew when they were sitting on the porch, other blacks would pass by and see them. And also my grandmother was well respected. And they figured if my grandmother thought this guy was a good person, then they would consider strongly voting for that person. I also grew up with strong feelings about you must register. Registering to vote was, people died to have the right to register to vote. So I grew up watching my parents involved. My father worked with registering people to vote. My mother was a registered nurse, and she was part of Florida Nurses Association. So my mother really got involved and at one point actually organized and created a Democratic Party in Florida. She also went to the Democratic Convention, and she was a Clinton delegate at the National Convention. So my mother was very active. The other thing too, as I said, with that commitment to people, my mother also organized a free clinic because, again, she felt that everyone was entitled to health services, and so she fought for that. And I've got to say, part of my being a Democrat was because of what I've seen the Democratic Party and Democratic candidates do. I believe I agree with the Democratic Party that government is essential. Now, we want government not to waste our money. We want government to be efficient, but we must have a strong federal government. And it's important that we continue funding it as a nation. I have to say I have a theory that it was under Ronald Reagan that people seemed to feel it was okay to become selfish. Before Ronald Reagan, under Lyndon Johnson, even under Dwight Eisenhower and under Nixon, when I came to Washington, D.C., and I lived in Washington for a number of years, I remember my husband telling me it was Richard Nixon that made restaurants integrate. So there were so many ways where civil rights were a concern of both Republicans and Democrats, and also the idea that we must give money and support the poor. But it seemed like under Ronald Reagan it was okay for the wealthy to hold on to their money. And I find that very sad, and that's been very upsetting to me. And I guess part of why I've continued to be a Democrat, because I believe the Democrats have been the ones to show that you got to care about your neighbors, your fellow citizens, that you got to put money in public education. We live in a country now where it seems like the middle class is losing out, and suddenly it's okay to hold on to your money. The idea that you won't raise taxes and say, oh, no, we're not going to do that, which means that everybody else has to find a way to educate their children. We're firing teachers. We decided as a nation, we used to care about public education. Everybody cared about public education. But it seems to me that's no longer true. So again, I'm proud to be a Democrat because Democrats are still fighting for public education. But it seems to me that Republicans are willing to hold on to their money and just care about themselves. You know, hey, you can send your kid to private school. Well, we as a country can't be successful if people are sending their kids to private school. So I believe in strong government. I believe in public education, public services. I believe money is better spent when we all put our money together, as opposed to when everybody holds on to their money and then we as individuals have to privately pay for tolls, to pay for public roads, you know, and unfortunately I'm hearing about public education, public schools where they're cutting art, they're cutting music. So people are holding on to their money and not paying taxes. How are their children better off? So I see Democrats as the ones that are fighting for that. So as a Democrat, living in Virginia, when I moved here, I joined the Democratic Party. I actually was chairman of the Providence District Democratic Committee for a number of years. I ran for the school board, and I served on the school board for 8 years. Again, because I believe so much in public education and public schools. If we as a country are going to be successful, we've got to care about our children. Now I'm retired I was a public school teacher. I'm retired as a teacher. I'm no longer on the school board. I retired from that. And now I'm a happily married grandmother. And I'm concerned about public education now because I have a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. But again, I believe that Obama and the Democrats will be the ones that will make our nation stronger. And otherwise, I mean, we're talking about, there's so many ways, it seems to me, where we're going to fall back if we don't raise our taxes, if we aren't willing to spend our money as a nation together on the services that we all need. So that tells you why I became a Democrat and why I'm still a Democrat and why I plan to vote for Obama, Tim Kaine, and in my case, Congressman Jerry Connolly. Thank you.